Hi, I'm Lynn Smith, and welcome to Stroller Coaster, the podcast that takes you on the wild ride of parenting that we're all on together, created by Munchkin, the most loved baby lifestyle brand in the world. Munchkin knows you need all the help you can get, which is why they make such great products and bring you this podcast. So get cozy, grab your sippy cups, and get ready for another great episode. And as always, my co-host Justin is here. Hey, Justin.
Hello, Lynn. How are you today?
I'm great. You know, before we become parents, we make friends like natural way, right? Like we develop relationships, we meet people, and over time you become friends. All of a sudden you become a parent and you're at birthday parties and somebody's sitting next to you and you realize, I'm going to be spending the next 18 years with this person.
Yes, that's a friend whether you like it or not. That's a friend.
Instant friend, right? And we use
Yes.
friend in quotation because it might be great for our kids. And in some cases, it's wonderful for us. In other cases, it's kind of a forced relationship. And in many cases, it kind of feels like dating where you're kind of, tiptoeing around like, we know we've got to get along here. So how's everything going to go?
Exactly. And I've actually entered a parent-friends sort of renaissance in the last 6 months. I've been doing a poker night with other dads that have kids in my older daughter's class. And so it's become this I'm around people I'm never around before, different backgrounds. And it's become this very different feeling of what friendship is from my normal life, like you're saying.
Yeah. And we can have two different sort of ways we look at this. Like, same thing. All of my girlfriends from my son's preschool class, like for the last 3 years, we do Wine Wednesdays, and it's like transformed into like more parties and all of that. And then on the other spectrum, there are some of my kids' friends that like we just don't mesh as much. And I kind of am excited to dig into this episode to find out, is that okay? Should we force it? Should we be trying harder? And in many times, we don't have the time to be a great friend. So how do we balance all of these things? We have a lot to get to in this episode. I'm excited because we're going to talk to an amazing expert, Shasta Nelson. She's an author and a TEDx speaker. She's also an expert on social relationships. Then we're going to hear a story straight from the playground and what it's like to put yourself out there and make a big parent-friend connection. We have a lot to get to. Let's get right to it. Shasta, I feel like this is one of those conversations where it's like, I even feel awkward talking about it because I feel like all of my social skills went out the window after becoming a parent. Why is it hard for us to make friends once we become a parent?
Yeah, no, it is hard. I mean, there's some advantages to being a parent, making friends too. Like you have more opportunities to meet each other and all that kind of stuff. But disadvantages, yeah, I mean, I think part of it is you're not only auditioning one other person, but you're auditioning their kids too, right? You're showing up and being like, well, our kids get along. Are they the same age? Are they the same gender? Are they into the same things? And then I think a really big factor that comes up is parenting styles. And so we feel very strong about how we are choosing to parent. And so when we see somebody choosing different options, even if it's just what they eat for snacks or what their schedule is like or what activities they allow their kids to do, it kind of creates a little bit more of like either they're doing it wrong or I'm doing it wrong. So we feel kind of judgy or kind of self-righteous. And we sometimes start believing, and it's not true, but we sometimes start believing that we can only hang out with other people who also have similar parenting styles. Do you feel that a little bit?
So on point, because I saw this thing on social media where there was like this grid, like the different quadrants of parent friends. And it's like, you're friends with the parents, but the kids don't get along. You're friends, the kids get along, but you don't get along as parents. You get along with the spouse, but not the other spouse. And it's like, there's so much that has to align for like the sweet spot to happen. What if, for example, you and the other parent are really close, but the kids are like cats and dogs?
Okay, so here's my rule in general, is that when we're a family unit, our job is to support the friendships of the other people in our family unit. The two people who are friends, we should be trying to have them spend as much of their time as possible without us present or without us needing to like necessarily be friends with the matched up person in that relationship. We really need to recognize that if our kids love each other, like we're going to do everything we can to support that, and we're going to let go of any expectation that we need to be best friends with the other parent.
It's such a good point.
Yes.
And especially as they get
You do.
older,
Love
like
it.
when they're younger, you kind of have to be there for play dates. You can't have 2-year-olds that are in preschool together and be like, hey, I'm just going to drop off my 2-year-old. What are some of the ways that we can try and make some of these friendship work because our kids are in school together or they get along so well and they want to see their bestie? What about when it's the parents that don't?
I think we just have to show up and say this is part of supporting them in their relationships. And it's the expectation thing is what gets us all the time. It's expectations of thinking that we need to really like that other parent. We don't need to like the other parent. We are doing this for our kids. And so we don't need to like wrap everything up in one big package and pretend that all of us are going to be best friends.
Exactly. Justin, do you feel like this is really the same for dads too? For me, I feel like sometimes it's like dating where I'm like, does she check the box as a mom friend? Like, is she cool? Is she fun? Is she not too serious, not too strict? Like all the boxes are checked. And then you text her like, hey, we should get the kids together. And you're waiting for that text to come through. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is flashback to dating.
Well, I would throw that back to you, Shasta, because same way, when I meet another parent or a dad that I'm like, this person's cool. I want to be friends with them. How do I do this in a real way? Because like we're out of practice. We are parents now.
Well, that is where I think being a parent is an advantage because we do have this like we're meshed to places, schools and playgrounds and parks where we're meeting people way more than people who don't have kids, like trying to figure out where to necessarily go meet people. So your first and easiest thing as a parent is to be like, where am I already frequently hanging out with my kid? So that I can start kind of having eyes to see who else is there and start just using where we don't have to invite each other to drop our kids off at school. We don't have to invite each other to sit by the pool and watch our kids, right? Like it's already automatically happening if we're both just showing up. So joining things, participating in things, committing to things, because your only other choice, and this is bad news bears for most of us, is if you don't join something that's consistent, your only other option is to create that consistency yourself, which means
more work,
reaching out, inviting, scheduling, and then doing it again, and then doing it again, and then doing it again. But you will never feel close to somebody without that consistency. There's no friendship any of us have ever built that didn't get some frequency and start logging those hours together. So that's the first piece of the puzzle that we always want to solve.
Which makes me lose hope for friendships that do not have to do with our kids. Like, what about those friendships that has nothing to do with our children, our lifelong childhood friends, where we don't have in common kids, for example? Like, how do we maintain those friendships when we don't have the ability to see each other a lot on the playground?
I love that you're presencing this. One of my favorite stories of years ago, there was a group of us girls, 5 of us, that we got together every single week for girls' night. And we would sit in my apartment and tell stories and eat dinner together. And one of the girls was the first one to get pregnant at the time. And she had her baby, came back to the girls' group. And I remember her just
never saw her
like,
again?
No. I was so impressed with her. She like within a month was like showing back up. But I found it so interesting that you could tell, understandably, none of us knew what she was talking about and couldn't relate and could understand. And so hence I said to her, you need to go make some mom friends. And she's like, but I have friends. I have you guys. And I was like, I know, but there's a different thing with mom friends, right? And we still have your heart. We still know you. This is a safe place for you. You keep coming here, but we don't understand cracked nipples and like sleeping, we don't get, we can empathize,
Totally.
but we don't know.
We run out of material real fast. Right.
And so what I love is that she went and started hanging out with mom groups. Both friends play such different, important roles in our lives. And I've watched a big mistake with a lot of women when dads too, but not dads as much though. That's an interesting thing. We should come back to that. Dads do a better job of hanging out with their friends who don't have kids, but moms tend to think they need mom friends, and they really, really have a tendency to grab onto
1,000%.
mom friends and let go of everybody else. And I'm like, that's not necessary or helpful. And these people aren't your best friends yet. It takes years and years and years to build friendship. So hang on to the people you've already invested in. Like, don't lose that.
Justin, do you feel like that is the case on the dad front?
I have like a very specific example or situation that I've been going through. My kids are in school now, and there's been this poker night that's developed with other dads at the school. And so it's all these people from random backgrounds. And it's been just like such an eye-opening thing. And I've had to sort of relearn how to be sort of open to different people. Can you talk about sort of that sort of befriending people from different backgrounds?
So earlier I was saying that when we're looking at relationships, there's 3 requirements to every relationship. Those 3 requirements are consistency, positivity, and vulnerability. So we can put 2 strangers into a room, and if we give them a format that models them seeing each other on a regular basis, building like logging hours together, which is the consistency piece. If we give you sharing questions to get to know each other, and we make sure you're having a good time, you're affirming each other, you're adding like positive emotions to the experience, we can basically predict that you are going to build a friendship. But there's been so many amazing studies on this. And so at the end of the day, we have been conditioned to think that we need to find our twin out there to be friends with, and that we need to find this like mythical creature that like is just like us. And the truth of the matter is, and this surprises me, but even our political differences, our religious differences are no more of a predictor of our ability to bond than if we both went to the same concert in high school or both dislike broccoli.
I find this with the vulnerability piece when it comes to men. Like I'll ask my husband, it's like, so did you hear about so-and-so's job loss? Like, how's he doing? It's like, oh, we didn't talk about that. And it's like, oh, well, what did you hear about the kids? Like,
but he had a full house tonight.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing great. He won. He's
what did you guys talk about? But with moms, the vulnerability piece is where I find the strongest connection. And I'd love to talk about like how we create those bonds, because you touched on that. Is like the bonds are what gives us the escape from the chaos. And what I find is the strongest friends in parenting that I've found are the ones I'm able to text and be like, I'm the worst mom today. And they'll text me back and be like, and there's always zero judgment. Like, I just screamed at my kid. I'm the worst mom too. And then we talk about it and it's like, oh, I just needed to hear you. I needed to talk to you. How do we find those kinds of friendships? It feels like they're few and far between. How do we look for the person that's going to just get us?
Well, what I love about the story you just shared is it models the vulnerability and the positive emotion, the positivity. So positivity doesn't mean we're always being upbeat or positive. It means that when we interact, we feel non-judged, right? If I were to say that men's friendships are low in vulnerability, women's relationships struggle with positivity. We are afraid of being judged, and we are judging.
It's so true. And you made another great point about like, why are we having some of these friendships where all we talk about are our kids? Like, Justin, I don't feel like dads do that as often. I feel like you're not sitting around talking about like how many ounces are they eating through the night, and are they going to bed full? Justin, am I wrong? Like,
no, but I think the shorthand is just different. I feel like men go to other pieces, like, a sports thing or a thing where they're like, you seem to like, you're wearing a band t-shirt, you must like music. Like, I feel like it's just the shorthand is different, but it's still that same sort of start on the surface and try to find a way into that depth, into that vulnerability area that I think we're talking about.
Justin, I have a question for you. Do you wish that the other dads and you talked about the kids more often? Do you feel like you're sidestepping this and it's enjoyable to sidestep it? Or do you actually wish that it was a bigger role and a bigger, safer, meaningful conversation?
I mean, sort of both. Like, I like sort of dipping in and out because I, like we're talking about, like, I want to make friends with the people. So I want to like be able to talk about the kids as a shared thing and sort of get to that vulnerable part. I mean, I think in general, I'm a little bit more open than a lot of the other dads I'm meeting. So I feel like I'm always pushing the vulnerability, and it helps to have the kids to talk about to sort of get into that so that I'm not just like confessing something out of nowhere and they're like, whoa, this guy is out there right now.
I love that. Thank you for being somebody who's kind of pressing forward on that. Yeah. It's
I'm not trying to. I just can't help it. I just would need to. I want to be like, we're friends, right?
Exactly.
So cool.
I have a whole theory that this is why men die younger than women, why they get remarried after death and divorce faster than women. It's that we have only told you it's okay to be vulnerable in romantic relationships, and men are no less good at it, no less needed, no less skilled at it. So I thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
So Shasta, is it important for us to prioritize friendships? Because it feels like that's the last on my list of what I need to do to keep humans alive and to keep a marriage happy is friendships. It seems like there's just no time for it. Is that important to prioritize this?
So the answer is yes, absolutely, so important. But I know that's probably discouraging to hear because I know your time is so limited, and most of us are like, I should be pouring more of my time here. Why go to have a girls' night or a guys' night out? The answers are so many. Let me just name one of the big ones is there is nothing that is showing up as mattering to our physical health more now than our friendships. It is the number one issue that determines your longevity, the way of you feeling supported. Like what we're aiming for is you feeling supported. So if you feel like you're an island all by yourself, and even an island with just your family, the chances of you feeling supported are dropping down. The more stress you have, the more important it is for you to be connected to other people, to feel like you have a lifeline, to feel like you're not alone, to feel like you have a support system in place. Like we need to be talking about our friendships and bragging about them and modeling them, because if we want our kids to grow up having these relationships, we absolutely need to be modeling them.
Shasta, you're amazing. You're really, 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 really good.
Oh, it was fun. I love talking about this stuff. I'm so glad you guys are covering
you're really
this
good.
because
Me too.
it's a topic that a lot of relationships end over. And so it's super crucial.
So is it weird if I text Shasta and say, will you be my best friend forever because you are the coolest person? She was just so insightful and put so much into perspective.
I think we established a pretty solid friendship there.
So you don't think it's weird if I text her and I'm like,
I think it's totally cool. As long as I'm on the chain, Lynn, don't cut me out of this friendship.
Got it.
Don't
Done.
take away the consistency that we've clearly established and the positivity and the vulnerability. We're all there.
That was the thing. And I really loved what she said about having empathy for some of those parents that maybe make being friends with them really challenging. So rather than being annoyed by it or avoiding them, it's like they're clearly trying to prove something in their parenting through their child. And then also, like, we don't need to have a lot of friends. And I found this later in my life as well. Like, we don't have to have tons of friends. We're not in high school anymore. Like, quality friendships is what's so key.
Or having the specific roles defined, where it's like, oh, this is a friend that I talk to a little bit and share a little bit with. And oh, I have this great friend that I've put in the time and positivity and vulnerability with that I get deep with. Because, and the visual that she talks about, I think is super helpful, because it just, when I see someone, I can picture the triangle and be like, we're low on the vulnerability scale, high on the consistency scale. So I'll know to just not open up about my deep, dark secrets on the playground.
Oh, darn it. That's everybody's loss.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Build it. Let's go. I'm always in the mood to make friends.
Justin, remember when you'd tiptoe around the house at nap time just because you're like, please, God, do not wake the child?
I would be like creeping around the house like a cat burglar, just trying to not make any noise, sidestepping squeaky toys. Hard. Very hard.
Well, listen to this. Munchkin is actually going to help you out because the Spring 2-in-1 Bouncer is this gentle bouncing and rocking motion that creates a sweet little haven for your baby. So if you want one, because I know you want one in an adult size, Justin, you can click on the link in the show description to see for yourself, and you can get a discount with the coupon code PODCAST. It is amazing how much making parent friends is like dating. Right? Like
Yes.
You're trying to make a connection. You're trying to see if you're compatible, all of those things. So we have a story that is on this exact topic from comedian and writer Jessica Delfino. Here is our correspondent Fleece with your parenting story of the day.
Jessica Delfino is a writer in Pennsylvania who's made a lot of parent friends over the years.
Making parent friends is an awkward adventure. As an adult, when you're making friends, it's just a lot different than obviously when you're a kid in school or at work. There's a whole different set of rules. There's a whole different element and vibe to it. It's like you have to put yourself out there in a way that you're maybe not always used to doing anymore as an adult. So that's kind of a tricky thing to navigate.
When it comes to parent friendships, there's one place in particular that has a huge role.
I never realized as a single person without kids how hugely important the playground would become as an adult. So for myself, when I was at the playground, I would try to kind of look around and suss out what was going on, and, like see different people if they were maybe open to potential conversation or whatnot. It's very much like dating, it's like a dating app for parents, if you will, the playground. But sometimes you just want to talk to another adult. You don't even have to necessarily make them be your best friend, but sometimes you just want to have a little bit of adult interaction, and the playground provides that.
Like everything, the playground also has its drawbacks.
playground can be kind of intimidating. You know the cool moms. You've seen the cool moms. They look amazing. Like they have their own makeup artist. Their outfit is perfect. They just are sitting on the park bench. They look like a page out of a catalog. And here I am in my milk-stained t-shirt trying to pull my hair back so that it's like not sticking up in the front. It's just awkward. It's an intimidating environment for anybody, but I definitely felt it. You'll run into like the dad who's like just completely shut off. He's like, I'm married and I'm very happily married. Don't need any lady friends. There have been times when I've been looking around like, where are my friends at? Who can I talk to? You? Come on, you're my new BFF.
Then, one day, a new friendship presented itself in a surprising way.
On this particular day, I wasn't feeling super energized. I was feeling a little tired. My son had asked me to push him on the swings for the 50,000th time. I was like trying to muster like a couple pushes before I just wanted to sit down. There's one other dad on the other side of the playground with his little girl who is about maybe a couple years younger than my son, and it didn't even matter. The two of them saw each other from across the playground, and that's one of the things that I love so much about how kids make friends that adults could really learn from. They saw each other, their eyes met, and they're like, boom, we're friends. They just were ready for it. And I was kind of trailing along after them when this young, sort of athletic, very energized man came up behind them, the girl's dad, and I sat down on the bench and he pushed the kids and ran after them all around the playground, and I was thinking to myself, this is amazing. As we got to chatting, it turns out he was a semi-professional football player, so of course he had the energy to run after these kids. Even though the two of us were complete opposites, we just connected. We became friends and we began to even look for each other. After, getting to know each other a little bit, I would go to the playground and hope he was there, and he would say, hey, I'll be there around 5, and we would go and make little sort of casual play dates, and the kids would run and play, and he would too, and I would just kind of watch.
As strong as these connections seem in the moment, parent friends can actually come and go pretty quickly.
Went to the playground the next day to meet up, and he wasn't there. And so we played, we hung out, and it's not crazy for someone to, not show up, but they never came. And I just somehow knew I was never going to see him again. And I never did. And I have to admit, I felt a little bit like sad about that. But that's how parent friendships are. They come and go. We were friends and then we weren't. I think the experience left me in a better place than it had found me, because from that point moving forward, I feel like I had a little bit more openness. I remembered the way my son and his daughter had just connected like that. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to have that kind of openness with people where you don't have to try to protect yourself. And that really paid off for me, because one day I was at the playground and I saw this lady and I was thinking to myself, I would really like to talk to that lady. She looks really cool. And you know what? I did. I went right over to her and I was like your pants. And before I knew it, we were trading personal details about our lives, which is totally my vibe. I love that. And I know personal details about her birth story and her mine. And we were just like that, best friends, boom, instantly. And I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't met my professional football playing dad friend.
The connection between Jessica and her new friend Karen grew quickly.
From the playground on, we were inseparable, and it was such a beautiful friendship. It was a fierce, fun, beautiful friendship. We had breakfast together every morning. Who does that? I mean, it was incredible. We would go over to each other's houses at 7:30 in the morning and start making pancakes and oatmeal and eggs. And it was like the friendship that you just dream of having as an adult, that you wish you could have again, that just, for whatever reason, is so elusive as an adult. But I found it and it was magical. And then the pandemic hit and we both left town. And we tried really hard to keep in touch, but it's not the same. Again, there's no anger, there's no sadness. That is how these parent friendships work. They're fierce and beautiful and oftentimes short-lived, and that's just how it is. Just like the stages of being a parent. You've got your little kids, you've got your middle school kids, and they grow, and the parent friendships change along the way, just like the way that your child does.
It's a beautiful thing connecting with other parents, and it changes your life for the better.
When I go to the playground now, and I do all the time, I'm always open. I'm open in a way that I didn't used to be, I think. I'm ready for a new friendship at any moment. And sometimes you get those new casual friendships. I haven't found one quite as magical as I did with Karen, but I'm open. I'm out there. If you see a woman with like a milk-stained shirt on, whose hair is kind of hanging down weirdly in her face, that's me. Come be my friend. I want to talk to you. And maybe if it's not me, whoever it is, just keep your eyes and your heart open, because we're all out there doing the best we can. We're looking for friendships. We're looking for people to connect with. Everyone is looking for that connection. So don't be afraid to go out and find your Karen. And hey, Karen, if you're listening to this, call me. It's been too long.
Your mom's soulmate, your parent's soulmate, right? Like we all hopefully find one, have one, search for one, because it is like, I can imagine you kind of always compare yourself to that person.
It's a magical, I think, connection when you find that parent friend, because you're just inherently going through the same thing. And I feel like those friendships get so much deeper, so much more quickly. Like you're just in it, you're talking about it, you're revealing all these like deep feelings you're having to someone that you just met at a playground like 3 days ago. Like it happens fast. Parent friendships, they happen fast.
It's just that person that gets you, and you feel like you can be totally yourself, which as a parent, that's kind of all you want. Like you're so sort of overwhelmed in many areas already. Like you just want someone to be like, I get you. I get what you're going through. I have to admit, this has been one of my favorite episodes yet, because while in so many of our episodes, we're helping us to become the best parent we can be, this kind of was an episode for us parents. How can we be the best people that we can be? Because let's be honest, when we feel great and we have people supporting us, when we have a great little village around us, we are better parents as a result.
That's so true. And it's nice to like, all right, kids, take a break. I think we need to work on ourselves for a second here on Stroller Coaster. We'll be back with you next episode.
Yes, we'll pay attention to you next episode. And don't go anywhere. We've got your moment of calm coming right up. But as always, I want to remind you, if you have a question or maybe there's a topic that you have really wanted us to dig into, shoot us an email at podcast@munchkin.com. I want to thank Shasta Nelson, such good information, and Jessica Delfino for a great story. As always, thank you to Munchkin, who makes this podcast possible. You can find all of your favorite Munchkin products at munchkin.com.
And I want to say, I don't know if everyone knows this, but we have a whole other podcast in this feed, a podcast for kids and parents to listen to together called Stroller Coaster Storytime. It's got great stories, improv actors, funny sounds, and big news. We have a brand new episode about two brothers and one elevator button and who gets to press it first. The answer may surprise you. It's right here in the same podcast feed. Look for Stroller Coaster Storytime.
Munchkin invites you to help plant 1 million trees a year. Listen to this. Since 2016, Munchkin has planted over 5 million saplings in some of the most impoverished countries through their partnership with Trees for the Future. Together, they're on a mission to reduce CO2 in the atmosphere 1 million saplings at a time. Now it is time to show you a little bit of support with your moment of calm. You have earned this parenting break. We're taking you to Africa, to one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Victoria Falls, home to leopards and white rhinos. So feel the mist and be still as you listen to the thunderous cascade of water.